Does poverty exist in the United Kingdom? Structural causes of poverty in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, despite providing free public healthcare, NHS, and education, is facing an unprecedented cost of living crisis. High inflation, especially since 2022, has sharply increased the prices of energy, housing, and food. Even people in employment often struggle to cover basic expenses, particularly in major cities such as London, Manchester, and Birmingham. The gap between rich and poor has widened, with wealth concentrated in a handful of families and regions, while children from poorer backgrounds have less access to opportunities, perpetuating the cycle of poverty. The labor market has become increasingly precarious, with a rise in temporary jobs and zero-hour contracts, resulting in around 56% of adults in poverty living in households where at least one adult is working. Furthermore, austerity policies introduced since 2010 have reduced the value and reach of social benefits such as universal credit, leaving many without sufficient support for their basic needs. Who are the most affected? Poverty most severely. It affects children and young people. Over 4 million live in poverty. Low-paid workers in sectors such as cleaning, hospitality, retail, and home care. Single-parent families, ethnic minorities, and the elderly. Children living in poverty tend to have lower educational attainment, higher risks of physical and mental health problems, and fewer future opportunities. Single mothers and immigrant families experience even higher rates of poverty due to discrimination and barriers in the labor market. Elderly people and those with disabilities, often reliant solely on the state pension, struggle to cover the costs of energy, food, and additional care, making them among the most vulnerable groups. How poverty manifests in daily life. Poverty in the UK is visible in the growing reliance on food banks, which distributed over 3 million parcels in 2023. The phenomenon of holiday hunger is common, as children miss out on free school meals during holidays. Thousands of families live in temporary, overcrowded, or inadequate accommodation, with private rents being expensive and social housing insufficient. Fuel poverty means families cannot adequately heat their homes during winter, forcing many to choose between heating or eating. Indirect school costs, such as uniforms and transport, can be prohibitive, making it difficult for children from poorer backgrounds to keep up at school. The role of food banks and NGOs. Food banks have become essential for millions of families, providing food, hygiene products, and sometimes emotional support. They operate through vouchers distributed by social services, schools, or GPs. NGOs such as Citizens Advice, Step Change, and the Children's Society offer financial guidance, legal support, debt renegotiation, and free courses. Churches and community centers also play a vital role, providing meals, clothing, activities for children, and psychological support. Despite their importance, these resources only provide emergency relief and do not address the structural causes of poverty. Recent public policies and limitations. Universal credit brings together several social benefits but is criticized for being insufficient and overly bureaucratic. Many families report delays and difficulties accessing the system. The national minimum wage has risen, but not enough to keep pace with the cost of living in many regions. Investment in social housing is inadequate, especially in large cities, and school meal programs, while important, do not cover holiday periods, leaving many children vulnerable. Since the 2008 financial crisis, austerity measures have further worsened the situation for the most vulnerable, and recent events such as Brexit, the pandemic, and the war in Ukraine have increased the pressure on struggling families. Paths to overcoming poverty and structural change. Overcoming poverty in the UK requires robust public policies, investment in social housing, real increases in the minimum wage, expansion of social benefits, and tackling precarious employment. It is essential to strengthen local support networks, mentoring, and inclusion programs. Financial education must be adapted to the reality of those with little to save, focusing on small wins and realistic strategies. Access to psychological support and tackling the stigma of poverty are also crucial. Structural change, collective action, and community support are necessary to ensure genuine opportunities for social mobility and a dignified life for all. Now that you understand the reality of poverty in the United Kingdom, even in a country with free healthcare and education, it is time to turn information into action. If you relate to any of these situations, don't hesitate to seek support. Reach out to NGOs, food banks, community centers, and social assistance services. There are resources, networks of solidarity, and people ready to help you take the next steps if you don't live this reality but have been moved by these stories. Share this video, help spread quality information, and push for structural change. Support local initiatives, donate to food banks, get involved in community projects, or simply offer a listening ear and solidarity to those in need. Together we can fight for fairer public policies, challenge the stigma of poverty, and create real opportunities for everyone. Leave your comments sharing your experience, questions, or suggestions for topics to explore further. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and share this content so more people can understand and act on this collective challenge. Change begins with information, but only becomes real through action. Be part of this transformation.